Are you willing to share yourself with others so they can ask you questions or they can react differently to what you just said? And then that helps you understand, whoa, I didn't even think about it that way.
So what other lessons do you learn about awareness?
Yeah, and I think that awareness oftentimes you can't do it by yourself. So always when some people say, "Oh, they're so not aware," it's just like, well, it's hard to do that by yourself. There's only so much you can get to by asking yourself questions, and that's where that second part comes in. Where are you willing to share yourself with others so they can ask you questions or they can react differently to what you just said, and then that helps you understand. Whoa, I didn't even think about it that way, and because if we're only having the internal monologue, then that's actually there's limits to that. And so the next part to get into that to even have more practice and more inward curiosity is actually you have to do it with someone else. Just like with your wife posing questions to you, you can ask yourself those why questions, but then she'll ask you another time and another time. And I think the other thing is I'm a big fan of brainstorming questions and brainstorming short questions because I am so guilty of having questions that actually have multiple questions and assumptions built in. And so I often have to take a step back and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me break this question into little bits. And I'll give you an example. I remember I was really disagreeing with someone and Randy, this is an example of when I wasn't practicing curiosity and I realized it 6 months later. So where it's just I thought I was asking this question of why did you do this? And what I was really asking was how could this possibly have happened when I told you not to do this? And so that's not me practicing curiosity. That's me. I want you to admit you were wrong. That's what I really wanted. And so when I wasn't getting that answer, I kept asking why did you do this? But what I really wanted was, I was wrong. And so, okay, step one, recognizing that. And step two was just then thinking, well, what happened in the situation? And so then I actually ended up asking, when I said this, did you hear me? Yeah, I heard you. Did you believe me? No, I didn't believe you. Oh, that's not about me. That's not about something I can control. And yet, how often do we conflate hearing and believing? How often do we say, well, I emailed you, I put it on Slack, I told you, and we assume that person believed us, agreed with us, and yet we don't ask that next question. And so that's what I mean by, and it took me quite a while to get there. And so I think that's something else for the self awareness part is just even just giving us the grace of it's not going to happen right away.
So you've clearly gone on a journey to embrace the need for curiosity. And what was one of the catalysts that pushed you to say, this is what I need to do for a living? To embrace curiosity, to start a company that trains people in the practice of curiosity. And and what was the impetus behind that? And how do you provide value to them?
Mhm. So I had a wonderful job. I know a lot of people, when they start companies, it's because they hated their job. I actually had a job I loved, and I was charged with doing community engagement for a industry association, and so I did a lot of cross-sector collaboration work, and that ended up being my second real life PhD in organizational development. And what I saw over time was, and I had this cohort, it was a 6-month cohort, and what I saw was some people did really well, some people were really thriving, and some people were really struggling with this collaboration work. And it was very ambiguous. And I realized that the people after by the 3rd cohort, because it was just how do we identify what's happening? Why are some people thriving? Some people are struggling. We identified curiosity because it came down to the people who were struggling were just so fixated on it getting a certain outcome. It had to look this way. And when it diverted from plan, they were so frustrated. And then there were people who were just, wow, look at what I'm learning. These are the people who are thriving. Look at what I'm learning. I had no idea. We created something out of nothing. And then what we saw on any given team, because they were on teams, if there was a critical mass of those who were thriving and who were really having fun, it could uplift the morale. And if there was a critical mass of people who were so focused on getting an outcome, it could take down the morale. Because there are a bunch of people who are just waiting to see how other people act. And so that's when I realized, wow, it's so important to have that critical mass and to also create that environment. Because I said earlier, one of the things that can hinder the practice of curiosity is people don't feel safe. If people don't feel that it's safe to practice curiosity. So how do you create that environment?